Hello, and welcome to another video at Ball Over Passion. I am your boy at GeorgeV_AFC, and we are back. We are back with another preview. Thank you guys for waiting. Sorry for the hold up a little bit, but we are here. How is everybody doing? First I'll throw it to Kerr, mate. How you doing? You good?
Yeah. I mean, all good. Just getting ready for this game tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. I haven't seen them in a while. I mean, last time was 2019 they were in the Prem. So Mikel's first game, very reminiscent of to see how much we've improved since 2019. And yeah, we're very excited to get going with this because I think we as a team have taken a couple of steps and a couple of leaps from where we've come, and it's a good way to see where the journey is and how far we've come on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? Like really quickly, just for completeness, so people don't think, Chris, you doing okay, mate? You good?
Oh no, yeah, I'm good.
Good. Awesome. So, guys, I have some interesting stats essentially. And really what it is does anybody know, Curran, mainly for you, mate, how many points we picked up against relegation threatened sides last year?
Relegation threatened or relegation sides?
Threatened. Well, no, not threatened. Relegation sides, let's say.
So the sides that we were
the three that got relegated. In terms of 15 or 18 points, how many do you think
18 points. So let's get this straight. Right, who got relegated? So Watford, we got 6.
Really quick off the top of your head. I know the answer.
15.
Yes. So we had secured 15 points against relegation teams. And so, guys, that's the big stat that I want everybody in the chat to kind of think about.
Oh, it was actually 15.
It was 15, and that's the big stat that I want everybody to think about, because these are the games for me that have mattered in terms of top 4 and got us to a position that we were able to compete. I think everybody can agree towards the end of the season, it was absolutely kind of a bottle from the team and in general. But to get us to that position, it was consistency of outcome against teams outside the top 6. And primarily, the biggest thing is looking at relegation teams in terms of what we can do to maximize our points. And Bournemouth, for me, unfortunately, without much, investment, really any investment, me and Chris were even talking off stream about how, Scott Parker was demanding really signings. They are a major threat. I think everybody top 20th team in the league in terms of projecting relegation. And I think these are the teams that we can't mess up on. We've followed up with really great performances in terms of Palace away, Leicester at home, which are tough mid-table teams. Generally, historically, I'm not too sure if Leicester will be there at the end of the season, but these are teams with great running power midfields that absolutely, are challenges to a lot of us. So I think a big thing is making sure we continue this run and making sure not to mess up and shoot ourselves in the foot against teams that we absolutely believe we should be beating. So I'm going to go to Curran, mate, first for you. What is your general opinions in terms of going to go face Bournemouth for the first time for a Ramsdale reunion? He's somebody that has mentioned the atmosphere. Mikel did in his press conference. Like, what are you expecting from kind of a general atmosphere perspective, having traveled to the Vitality? It's Vitality, isn't it? Am I wrong? Stadium. We're traveling out there. What do you make? Because it's a tight pitch, by the way. I don't know. Like, again, I wouldn't know. I'm not there.
The fans are close. The fans
are super close, yeah. And they have a great atmosphere. So what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if you guys know. I mean, both of you. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you know the last time we went 3 games with 3 wins in the league as Arsenal?
At the start of the season.
At the start of the season.
It's not like 2012 or something.
No. 0405.
Wow.
Yeah. So to go there and
so you know what that means, that we're in for a title challenge. That's essentially what you're saying, right, Curran? So
I'm saying we need to. This is my point is there's an away fixture here, and you mentioned a relegation threatened team. My opinion is to get the season started and to get 3 on the bounce, because I mean, you said 2012, so you could, that was the Cazorla window with Per and them lot. So this we've never really started well. We're not a quick starting team. So to put that in perspective, to go there and make a statement on a away win in a team, because the thing is, there's different criteria of matches. There's games that you should win. There's games that look, if you drop points, look, I can understand because it could be a bad day or whatever. And there's
Yeah.
games where it's top six. Get your points. If you can get more points, great. Get yourself in a title challenge. If you don't, look, we can manage it. The top four, especially, because the thing is, the top four is won with teams by beating teams outside the top four. So this is one of those games where you have to win, because these are the games where you shape top four. If we're looking at top four for next season, and
Yeah.
when you go to these kinds of games, you have to have that mentality that, look, people are swarming. Everyone wants us to mess up. Everyone wants us to kind of crumble here, because they're all expecting it. Everyone wants to get, especially United fans, after their whole 2 games and no points kind of debacle. Everyone wants us to fail to get the heat off them. So yeah, that for me, I reckon must win in terms of the atmosphere. I know I didn't mention it. Look, I remember going there in 2019. I remember that game. That game is sizzled in my head because of it was Mikel's first game in charge, and you can tell. I mean, it was a night game that time, but there is something there. It's not quite on a Palace level or something like this. It's not quite there, but it's still, there's a little bit there. There's little bit of a noise generated there. It's not completely silent.
Yeah, and like I'll clarify, it's not in the sense that it's a must win, but we did so well in terms of consistency. When you look at last season in terms of November to March, what was the major factor in us collecting maximum points? It was those consistency of outcome against the teams outside the top 6. And so you don't really look at it as an isolated view, but I just view it as this is an opportunity to really stamp your authority on these types of games. Again, it would make it 3 teams in a row that fit that description, and you're continuing the same pattern from last year. You're continuing the same ethos and mentality that really put us in a position to at least compete for the top 4. And I think that was the major thing. And a lot of people would argue that Brighton, Southampton, and Palace kind of period is really what lost us the big thing. So yeah, no, I appreciate what Yo-Yo's saying, and he did.
I
He
mean,
did kind of get it, but it's a
what I
good
will
point.
say is why I call it must win is because we're setting a culture, and we're setting the footprints down for this season. I feel like you can't just kind of go on 2 games, then kind of set back and come back and set back and come back. We need to start putting fixtures together, a run together. City go on the 17-18 run games where they just dub. You need to go on these wins, and you have to start thinking about how are you going to structure your season, because you can't just go in and be like, okay, look, we got a point here, but that's okay. No, I have to
Well, I
just
think, Kern,
start
what you
getting these
really bring
games.
up is a very good point in terms of understanding that those massive, it's not even the 5-game runs, but when you look at a title challenge form in terms of if we want to take the next step, like that mentality has to exist where you creep the 5-game. Because I actually think we did well last season to go through periods where we were winning 5 games in a row. And, of course, that wasn't something that was typical of teams in the top flight last year. But in addition to that, there was very few teams that had the 15, 12 to 15 game runs where they were picking up points. It didn't all have to be wins, but they were picking up points. And that's the title challenging standard that's been stepped. But you know what? I want to move on specifically to Chris in terms of having a chance to look at the lineups, mate. Like I know we were even talking really briefly off stream about how this is a tall team, and we'll chuck up the lineups for here, and I'll let you kind of describe them because it might be a little small for people to see. But what do you make of basically the challenge that Bournemouth will set as a team that is quite tall in comparison to the rest of the league?
Well, Bournemouth is a tall team. They've scored 2 goals this season, 2 goals from set pieces. So obviously, and we scored 2 from set pieces as well. We're both top of the league so far. Obviously, it's only been 2 games, but yeah, I think they're a decent team. They create a lot of chances. They take a lot of shots. They leave a lot of gaps in transitions, and their centre backs commit a lot. Versus Aston Villa, they probably should have lost, but obviously they scored in 2 minutes, and then Aston Villa didn't take their chances, particularly Ings. Obviously, last week, City beat them 4-0, 3-0 at half time, but City themselves wasted a lot of chances. And we saw De Bruyne's goal, like the amount of space he had in their half in transition was a lot. And they consistently allow a lot of space in transition. Obviously, like Parker admires the team. We don't like this might be the lineup. There's a lot of if and maybe like Solanke might be back. He's having a test today.
Hmm.
Senesi was signed like a week and a day ago, so he's been here for 8 days. Will he start? We don't know. Obviously, they've got a couple of injuries like Ryan Friedrichs and stuff like that. But this is their main team. Kiefer Moore is a big player for them. He will look to pin himself on probably Gabriel and allow the left winger to come inside and try to attack Saliba probably. But yeah, I like the left back Zamora. He's a very good overlapping option, very good 1v1. I'm not sure. Well, I don't want to see him consistently 1v1 versus Ben White. I'd prefer it to be Tommy, just because of the aerial threat they pose. Like Billing is like, who might even start is like 6'4", Kiefer Moore 6'3". Like they're a big team, and they can get beaten. Like I think this will be a very good game for Jesus just because of the gaps that their centre
Yeah.
backs leave, literally, and they allow 1v1 so much, and they've got like a very slow back line, very slow and old. So yeah, I do think we can definitely beat them. And for us, I think it'll be the same. I hope
I
Tommy
mean,
starts, but I think it'll be the same.
Yeah, I'll
I
go
mean,
quickly to
yeah,
Curran, mate. Like
yeah,
for you, what is the
yeah,
biggest difference? Not just in terms of transition, but because I think this is a team that oddly, by the way, despite having a tall team, will look to play out from the back. But they leave
Yeah.
so many gaps in transition. Do you think not only Jesus but Martinelli, somebody that's got enormous amounts of form, and even Bukayo Saka, who has been quietly good? I will maintain that. Do you think this
yeah.
is a chance for the front line to really explode themselves and maybe show the attacking potency that we've shown glimpses of really in the last 2 games?
Look, the whole point of our system right now is our wingers are wide. Last season, especially, I don't know because the thing is with the Xhaka Zinchenko overlap, it's allowed Marseille to come a bit more inside. But with this kind of team, with the space they leave out wide and the space they leave in between, um, I want to see Martinelli in that wide centre back channel and just running that channel. I feel like he's going to be someone that I don't really, because usually if I'll give you an example, Liverpool at home last season, we'd have Martinelli on really wide on one side and Saka really wide on the other. I kind of just want to see Saka wide and Martinelli a bit more inside, like that what we've been seeing lately. I feel like there's a lot of gaps that you can expose in terms of like I mean we still have that Leicester graphic. I'm pretty sure we could use that again because there's so many space between the especially with a left back that it overlaps a lot and wants to go forward. There's going to be that space in between the wide centre back and that left and that channel to exploit. So we
Well,
have players that can
absolutely.
hit it.
Yeah, and we do. And look, attacking that space between the wing backs and the third center back is going to be pretty key. But, I think, even Chris made a really good point in terms of their ability to control the center of the pitch, which is really lacking. It's probably one of the most open teams in the league, which is ironic given the formation. It's typically a back three formation, is one that you would assume is something that's able to be very compact. But really, that's something that Scott Parker's men struggle with because, I mean, he is adventurous. He is somebody that wants to go on the ball. But, I think I'll kind of redirect this question to Chris if he can, in terms of Odegaard, who has been somebody that, again, I shouldn't speak because I've got a bias. But, in terms of somebody that's struggled in the last 2 games to really impose himself and really be the same fluid overlapper that he was last season. I think both, by the way, him and, Tommy, like our right back and Ben, but Ben's only been in there for the last 2 games. But, we have been a lot better at making sure that right-hand side is fluid. I do think it's a good concern, not necessarily Ode, for example, but like specifically, do you believe that the right-hand side might show a little bit more fluidity given the fact that there's a lot more spaces in transition against this very tall Bournemouth team? Like I'd argue, even though it is away, this is a perfect game for Martin Odegaard to impose himself because it's against players that are clumsy, will leave space in transition. And so he'll have time to look up. There won't be the same pressure from hitting him from behind, that he does struggle with against physical midfields. I think this is a great time for him to really get his season going. Something that he can do. We know he has the ability to, but he just hasn't already. So, what do you think, mate? Do you think this could be a really good game for him?
I do think it could be, especially because Bournemouth sentiments don't offer much the other way. Like one thing he's mainly struggled with, despite like him not being good himself on the ball, is like having to chase Gallagher, having to chase Eze, having to chase these players, and it kills his legs. And I just think it forces him to be in duels that he doesn't want to be. But Bournemouth Like they scored no counters last season. They're the only team in the championship that didn't score a goal from counters. So like they're not a good transition team, and they rely heavily on just dominating the ball. And despite creating so many chances, they don't do it in transition. So, and obviously the space in behind, like Ings was playing on the right half space last game on the first game, and he had a lot of chances. But yeah, I do think he'll be able to have space, pick up on space, and if he's in it, like if he's involved in the game, then yeah. But Scott Parker did mention that because they know we're better than them, that they have to make the pitch feel smaller than it actually is.
Mm.
Get the fans to get in on the players because despite he said they were a very good team positionally, so they have to get in and make the pitch small, and Erdegaard can't let that happen. So I think a big scoreline could like very much help them, but we need to start quick because when they start quick, like versus Villa, their fans can get in on you with a very small stadium.
Yeah, I think as long as you give people an opportunity to cheer, that's always something that is a worry against away grounds. Just in general, you never want to give the crowd an opportunity to get behind their team. And I'll pose the same question to Kern, but more so, who do you think is going to be the biggest key battle? Because me and Chris have already talked about where we think the biggest kind of storyline will go. But I'll go to you before we do predictions in terms of where you think the biggest battle is going to be won or lost.
I mean, for me, I reckon probably I want to say Jesus versus their centre backs. I feel like his ability to stretch the pitch because he's gonna push them back. He's gonna be wanting to push the line back because Bournemouth are such a possession heavy team. They're gonna want to try and push their line up, try and shorten the pitch, shorten the distances, and get their midfield and their attack on the ball. Not hit too many long passes and try and play through us, but they don't have the technical ability to do so. So I reckon that Jesus pushing their line back, pushing their centre backs back will be massive. In terms of for what they bring to us, I reckon Kiefer Moore versus Gabriel will obviously be key. I think they're going to be trying to hit crosses from wide and to see where they can try and get in. I mean, if I haven't watched a lot, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, oh, we've watched every team. But if they have an overlapping left back that can maybe get in behind Ben White and try and get in crosses to him, that could be a dangerous route for them. So I refer to Chris. Chris is our championship guy. So if Chris is saying that that's true, that's the truth. I believe him. So if that's the case, then for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? It's that time of the show, boys and girls. You put in your predictions. There's a lot of people going for a little bit of a clean sheet. Let's see if you're right to pyramid in terms of what Chris might do. But guys, yeah, it's that time of the show. We look in terms of predictions. So I'm just gonna pop these guys up to let you guys know what the boys are saying. So not too bad, mate. He did go with the 5-0, so I'll just run it off the bat for everybody here. Chris has gone 5-0, Curran's gone 2-0, and I've gone 3-0. So I think we've all predicted clean sheets. It's just the level of damage has varied a little bit between the three. And you know what? We've kind of gone in on point in terms of narrative. Chris being the most optimistic, me slightly behind, and then Curran being the most realistic one out of the three. No, I kid. So in terms of these predictions, I'll go to Chris first for justification on it. 5-0, big score line, and not unlike us to do. What makes you confident of a big 5-0?
They allow so many chances, and I think for them, the way they meet centre backs and the way we've been on the half turn, like Jesus, Martinelli, like they've been killing players in the half turn, like the way Gabriel Jesus turned Evans, like if they keep hitting so close, like in behind, he's just gonna keep flipping. And I think eventually we're gonna score more than 4. Like Leicester should have been like 7 goals, 8 goals, and Palace even should have been more because we should have been like 3-0 up in the first 20 minutes. So I think eventually them continuing to give us chances, even though like initially I was thinking they might be scrappy, but like it shouldn't be at all. Like the way they play and the way we play is perfect match made for us to get our 5-0 win. But I do think Jesus was like play a big part because the spaces they leave, and Saka will get his first goal contribution that people need for some reason.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll just really quickly go. The biggest thing for me is I feel as though that we are going to, in fact, make use of these 5 subs. And I just think, in terms of a more of a protection thing, I think we're going to take off our best players quite early because we'll have actually won the game quite early. At least that's what I hope to see. So that's a big reason why I don't know if we go quite for the 5-0, but very, very possible. So I'll throw it over to Curran. Last but not least, to round us up, mate, 2-0. What makes you so pessimistic?
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a huge Bournemouth watcher, so I went by the stats. I went by their goals conceded. I went by the. I actually went by as well that I don't know if you guys know. There's a guy called Scott Willis, that crab that does these
Yeah.
match predictions. He does these match prediction kind of score predictions, and the highest probability was 2-0. So I'm not going to be here and sit here like, oh, Scott Parker's system is so fluid in this way, and I know that we can get through that. I don't know, guys. So I went with the stats, and I think 2-0 is going to be a pretty okay-ish score.
But I do think
So-
before we finish, I do think we should beware for set pieces because they scored 11 goals
With
from
their
set
height
pieces.
as well.
Yeah, 11 goals from set pieces last season, two this season. But they play a lot on the ground, like George said earlier. They play a lot on the ground. They were 20th for aerial duels last year. They don't play in the air for such a big team. So yeah, I hope we do beat them 9-0. Maybe my 5 is wrong. I hope we smash them just for confidence.
I hope we do a Southampton.
Yeah,
just for
well,
confidence.
look, I think we are due definitely from this team a really big score line. I'm still not sure if we are necessarily a
Ready.
team that kills. I think we're a team that threatens, but I'd like us to become a team that kills, and I mean that very purposefully. I hope that we learn to not leave any doubt in terms of the "Remember the Titans" quotes that everybody would love. I think this team has a little bit to go in terms of asserting that kind of authority. But yeah, guys, this is just going to be a really quick one. We thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go through the socials again, so we make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe. You hit that bell for notifications to know when we do, in fact, upload. You can find me at GeorgeV_AFC. You can find Chris at CK Football, that's at CKFTBL, and you can find Curran at Curran BoP. In terms of the socials on track, you can find us at Ball Over Passion on YouTube and Instagram, or at BoP Footy on the Twitter. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. In terms of some of the scheduling stuff that's going to come, don't worry. We've seen all of your comments about the transfer pod, and you're going to have one of the famous BoP transfer spaces happening next week, as well as a review, of course, for Bournemouth and previews lining up for what we do. Because, guys, transfer stuff is hotting up. We're going to talk all about that 70 mil Great British pounds on a Sir Casemiro and all of that stuff that you guys want us to know. But please, thank you so much, everybody, for your interactions. We really do appreciate it. And we will catch you guys on the next one, hopefully when it's Arsenal 3, Bournemouth 0. Thank you, everybody. Peace.